What's going on YouTube? Raging Kodiak. Let's talk about the update. In a no-nonsense, cut through the chase, too long didn't read type of video. If you want a long-winded video, there's plenty of them out there. Oddstarver usually does a great job explaining everything, but I'm going to give you the crayon eater guide to every update going forward, including the PTBs, the public test build. All right, so this guide is going to have a lot of things. This new update for January is going to have a lot of stuff, including generators, FOV Slider, the Onryo, the Hillbilly, Blight's add-ons, perk updates, Ormond gameplay update, and some game modifiers. Kicking things off with the generators. Generators have been a big issue where 3-gens are a big concern for people because nobody wants to chase. They just want to kick their gen and put the 2.5% regression on it. So now, going forward, each generator can only suffer from a maximum of 8 regression events, where a regression event is anytime the killer or their perks remove at least 2.5% of a generator's progress in an instant. So what they're doing is they're now buffing the kick of a dry kick, if you will. So no perks to 5% regression instead of 2.5. However, to prevent just gen tapping, you have to repair that 5% back. Otherwise, if you repair it to 4%, it'll continue regressing until you get to that 5%. So you can't just come over, tap it, and run away again. You have to actually repair it for 5%. Otherwise, when you come off of it, it'll continue regressing. This is their way of combating the 3-gen, the boring, drawn out, and slogged out games where people just want to fall asleep. The FOV Slider is next on the docket. Obviously, Shadowborn's a big factor. I love Shadowborn. I run in just about all my killers. So as it stands right now, 87 degrees is the current default FOV Slider. With Shadowborn, it's 103 degrees. So they're now removing Shadowborn option, and you can now put it on any of your killers without actually having to run Shadowborn. So what they're going to do is they're going to be changing some options like Shadowborn, and they're going to be changing Modern Abuse to affect it differently. So that's going to be, addressed later on in the video. All right, so next up, we're going to be talking about Onryo. So Onryo, obviously, when she first came out, she was super strong, and then she stopped being strong, and then there's the whole condemned issue. So what they did was they now removed the condemning when across the entire map. So if you are, dealing with a gen, across Red Forest, and she teleports, the other side, you no longer get condemned. It has to be within 16 meters of a powered TV. Her teleport cooldown has also been removed, allowing her to teleport more frequently, but that's also good. However, when a survivor is hooked, their current condemned progress will be locked in, preventing them from ever being removed. So if you are nearly 99 condemned and you get hooked, you are locked in for the rest of the game at 99. So that requires you to just basically die. So what they want you to do is obviously try and get rid of your tape as often as possible. They did update the tapes. So the cursed tapes no longer protect you from getting condemned. The cursed tapes are no longer destroyed or inflict condemned when a survivor is hit. So you don't have to worry about holding the tape. So when you are running across the map, you can still deposit your tape even if you get hit. Cursed tapes can only be deposited in the furthest TV from where they were picked up. So if you pick it up on one side, you have to run clean across the map to go deposit the one. You can't go find a TV 20 feet away and deposit it there. Her Dem Manifestation state got actually a rework here. So you can now chase survivors while Dem-manifested. So before it was you're Dem-manifested, you basically lose chase and you're kind of SOL, making her Dem-manifestation not really all that great. So they've now changed that. The duration of the invisibility while Dem-manifested has been increased to 1.2, which was 1 second. They did that to basically rework the Reiko's watch, which was fun to use, they said. But they did that just to try and rely less on the add-ons. They're also going to do a lot of reworks for her add-ons to promote strongly disliked playstyles. Looking at you, ring drawing. So yeah. Billy, my boy, he got worked. So overheat is no longer a thing. They're now calling it overdrive. So basically what happens is when you get overheated, which is overdrive, for the next 20 seconds, your chainsaw charge speed is increased by 5 seconds. His chainsaw sprint movement speed is increased to 13 meters a second. And then his chainsaw sprint cooldowns are reduced by 10%. They said the too long didn't read is the heat's now good. You want to overheat. You want to get overdrive. Cleaning up. At the same time, we've made some general improvements to Hillbilly's kit and smoothed out his rougher edges. So the base chainsaw speed movement has been increased by 10%. So you don't have to worry about running, doom engraving, death engravings, things like that. You can run something different. It reduced the size of the chainsaw's collision detection to make the chainsaw sprints more maneuverable. Obviously, they're adding clutter to maps. You want to have a smaller hitbox so you don't bump into absolutely everything. Eerie of Crows. Camera sensitivity is no longer incorrectly tied to the controller sensitivity setting while using a mouse and keyboard. Chainsaw controls are now equal to 100% sensitivity before. So obviously that was a little bit of a rework for their mouse sensitivity. I'm sure that comes down to people like using Q&E, stuff like that. His add-ons, they're going to be reworking those. Obviously, Hillbilly has gotten shafted in the past about his add-ons, and they're going to be doing some reworking on a lot of them. He only has low pro, death, and doom engravings. Most people don't really use anything other than those three, similar to Pyramid Head. Next up, the Blight's add-ons. So Blight obviously is one of the most polarizing killers out there. So Blighted Rat and Blighted Crow, highly used. Add-ons are fairly strong, making it far more difficult to get out of a way of his rush. We reduced the rush speed bonus of these add-ons to 2% and 3% respectively, It was 4 and 6, so they cut it in absolute half. Adrenaline Vial no longer decreased the time to recharge a rush token by 1 second, and no longer increases rush speed by 10%, so Adrenaline Vial got gutted, so did the Crow, and so did the Rat. Now, here is one of the most annoying ones that people are going to talk about is Alch Ring. So Alchemist Ring, prior to this, was anytime you hit a lethal rush, you would instantaneously get all of your rushes back. So with this one, what they're doing now is they're increasing the rush duration by 20% for each consecutive rush. So they're no longer restoring the rush tokens as soon as you get a lethal rush hit. You are now only increasing your rush duration. So it's not I think it's a 3-second rush, so you get longer. Compound 33, replacing the survivor's movement speed, acts very similarly. So what Compound 33 it was an iridescent, and what it would do is when you would hit a bump, it would hinder the survivor by a couple percent. So each consecutive rush, which is longer than 4 meters, increases the turn rate by 33%, instead of slowing it down, I believe that's reading. So it increases your turn rate, so you can hit 180s and flicks and all that fun stuff now. No longer hinders the survivors. Erie's Blight Tag, which is an iridescent add-on. Prior to it, what happened was when you were on your final rush and you hit a survivor with the lethal rush, you would instantaneously down them. It would cause them to basically be exposed. It was a one-shot. So it says we have given the add-ons a brand new effect as well, which enables the rush to be performed without spending tokens. Rush bonuses are capped after 3 consecutive rushes. Blighted Corruption goes on cooldown for 20 seconds after a successful lethal attack. Too long didn't read is, you now get infinite rushes, but the second you hit somebody with a lethal attack, a lethal rush attack, you are now on cooldown for 20 seconds. So now you have 20 seconds of just being an M1 killer having to chase, so you can't just be infinite rushing. But that's going to be really good for zoning and getting people out of the way. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be using it in different manners. All right, the perk updates. Obviously, this is one that if you are on Twitter, you're going to see a ton of it. Save the best for last. What now happens is prior to that, you would get a stack every time you hit your non-obsession. If you hit your obsession when it was, tier 3, if you hit your obsession, you lose 2 stacks, obviously up to 8. And that was really, really strong. So what they're doing now is each token grants a stackable 4% decrease, which was 5%. So it was 5, now it's 4. 2 tokens are lost when the obsession loses a health state by any means. So that means you can't just use, the Demogorgon's M2 attack, you can't use Deathslinger's attack, you can't use anything that causes the obsession to lose a health state. So M2 killers, I'm sorry, but save the best for last is no longer your number 1 perk. Grim Embrace, prior to this, it says, what happened was you would get Every time you hooked a survivor for the first time, you would get a token, up to 4 tokens, and then it would block all generators. All of them. Doesn't matter what was happening. All of them for, I think, 60 seconds. Now, the first time each survivor is hooked, all generators are blocked for 8, 10, and 12 seconds. Obviously, 12 seconds is the grape version. Once the killer moves at least 16 meters away from the hook. So the first time a survivor is hooked, and you move away from a hook 16 meters away, it blocks all gens. So that's going to, A, prevent the hook camping, and B, that's going to be a lot more useful for gen control perks. That might be meta coming up here soon. Quick Gambit, obviously it was not very used a lot. So when you would be getting chased around a generator within a certain radius, it would actually create a faster gen progress for the people that were repairing it. So it has now increased the range to 36 meters. It was 24, and we reduced the repair speed to 3, 4, and 5. It was 6, 7, and 8, which is kind of nice. So it's kind of a little bit of balance. Hex Ruin, obviously when you would have a Hex Totem and a survivor dies, it would then disable Hex Ruin. Now it no longer affects that, obviously, because, you know, there was, I mean, it was pretty much a gutted perk. It was completely useless. So if a survivor was killed, it would instantaneously be done and not have to be cleansed. So now Hex Ruin is no longer disabled after a survivor is killed or sacrificed. They pretty much reverted it back to its original state. Shadowborn, obviously, with the new FOV Slider being introduced, when blinded by any means, you gain a 6, 8, and 10% haste effect for 10 seconds. So Shadowborn has now created a little bit of a difference. Kind of like that. That's kind of cool. Not going to run Shadowborn anymore, even though I'm addicted. Monitor Abuse. Likewise, the FOV altering effect of Monitor Abuse are now unnecessary considering the added FOV Slider. They basically removed the FOV adjustments from the perk and left the terror radius effects unchanged. So instead of you going in and out of Shadowborn, not Shadowborn, yeah, Shadowborn, not Shadowborn, they just made the terror radius the only thing that changes every time you're in chase and out of chase. Kind of nice. I like that because it used to make me sick. Ormond renovated the ski resort. The lodge currently has a long row of rocks stretching across it. Make a way to traverse the map, blah, blah, blah. So I think they removed the big rocks, it looks like, right there. The back lodge, they added some more clutter. Very nice. More snow piles, more clutter. Love that. So that's pretty much what I'm noticing here. I don't see anything out of the ordinary besides creating more clutter and removing a big rock. Very nice. Let's see here. Wilts, these are not to be in the upcoming PTB. Our first limited time modifier DVD Lights Out will be available to play in the coming months. All right, cool. All right, well, so if you stayed to the end of it, obviously we did a quick down and dirty through the muck, no issues had. I'm going to be doing this on every update. I'm going to be talking about this for the developer updates. I'm going to be talking about this for the player test builds and all that fun stuff. So if you want to see more of these, obviously hit subscribe, thumbs up on the video, and comment below if you found this to be useful and if you didn't have to read it yourself. So until the next one, see you guys.